As one ages, the list of maintenance exercises grows, from aerobic training to strength and cognitive training. These are all components of aging optimally. However, wouldn't it be easier to just have one miracle exercise that covers all of these bases pretty effectively? Well, there is, and it's boxing. Hello everybody, my name is Luciano Oliva, and I did my presentation on the benefits of boxing for the elderly. The article I went over was called Great Reasons Why Women Over 50 Should Take Up Boxing. So the first thing that may come to mind is boxing for older adults. You know, boxing is usually a rough and tough sport. However, it is a very effective and popular way to stay fit amongst the elderly. So my post was a Huffington Post article, and it just went over the various benefits of boxing for older adults. And this article specifically went over the added benefits that women can get from boxing. However, unlike traditional boxing, there will not be sparring or punching a different person, and usually it'll be in the form of a boxing class, and there are usually two types of classes. So the article went over how the first type of class is similar to your typical aerobics class, where a trainer leads the group through choreographed punches on a bag. And this type of training can be very good for just normal strength and aerobic training. It can also help having other people there increase your motivation to work harder. And the next type of class is one-on-one training, which usually involves hitting pads with the trainer, which again will work the same strength and conditioning. However, it can have an even greater cognitive impact as well, which we will get into more later. So just going over some of the overall benefits that the article went over for strength training. Of course, you hit the bag by swinging your arms and rotating through the hips. However, in addition to that, you also need a strong base and leg stability to box effectively, which means that boxing training overall will strengthen your arms, shoulders, back, core muscles, and legs all at once. In addition to just strength training, there's also cardiovascular conditioning. Boxing is a great aerobic exercise and can have these aerobic benefits very quickly. It can reduce the odds of high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. And it also can elicit these reactions much quicker than just a traditional elliptical bike, brisk walking, or running on a treadmill would. And finally is the cognition and balance benefits that boxing has. With the stance of boxing and the changing of positions for each specific punch, you need a very good base and balance, and boxing can have a very positive impact on that balance, even when just shadow boxing, which is when you mimic the movements of boxing without actually punching anything. And in addition to that, many boxing combinations and punches require certain steps, movements, and memorization, which can be a form of dual tasking and will lead to cognitive benefits as well. Remembering which punch comes after each punch will not only help the physical aspect, but also the mental aspect as well. And finally, the article was written by a woman who is 64 and started to box, and just going over the additional benefits that women have, as it can target certain areas physically that women may neglect more in the arms, shoulders, and upper body strengthening in general. And it also can force women out of their psychological, or it can have more psychological benefits as it forces them out of their comfort zone and out of the normal gender norms that women usually have into a exercise program like boxing, which can have even greater benefits and be even more rewarding of an exercise. So going over some studies that back up these claims that the article has, the first one that I went over was called Boxing Exercise Improves Physical Functions, Balance, and Quality of Life in Healthy Elderly Persons. The purpose of this study was looking at how elderly people can suffer from cardiovascular diseases, and there are many different programs. However, they wanted to see how boxing would compare similarly to these aerobic exercise programs, and in addition, they wanted to see how it would compare to strength training programs as well. So they used 56 elderly people aged 60 and above who are able to walk 10 meters unassisted, and most of the sample was women. 14 of them were put into a aerobic exercise class, and 14 was put into a strengthening program, and the final 28 were put into a boxing-oriented exercise class. And these programs were conducted over a 12-week period. So the participants were given various physical performance and quality of life questionnaires and tests before and after the program to get scores in these areas. The researchers found that the quality of life scores were a little bit lowered in the aerobic and strengthening program when compared to the boxing program, and the boxing group showed significant improvements in cognitive scores, which is a dual task cognition task. And finally, both the strength and cardiovascular scores were very similar with the boxing scores. However, with the strengthening benefits being a little less in the boxing when compared to the strengthening program. However, the boxing group had greater improved balance scores in both the strength and aerobics groups. So in conclusion, the researchers said that boxing improved both strength and cardiovascular performance at a similar level to specific programs designed to help with these areas. In addition, they found that participants in the boxing group had additional cognitive and balance improvements, which was not seen in the other two programs. And so they concluded that boxing can be a very effective program as it elicits similar reactions to specific programs for both strength and aerobic training all at once. The next study was looking at boxing compared to other high-intensity interval training programs for older adults, specifically ones using either the exercise cycle or treadmill for cardiovascular health in older adults. The participants of this study were split into 3 groups in a 9-week training period. The first group was put into a brisk walking program. The second group was put into a intensity training program, which was designed around the exercise cycle and treadmill, and the third group was put into a boxing program. And they were observed over the 9-week period. Each group was prescribed 4 50-minute bouts of their specific exercise, and both the high-intensity interval training group and the boxing group was supervised. However, the brisk walking group, which was the control group, was given the 4 50-minute sessions. However, it was unsupervised and completed in a location that was convenient for the participants. The researchers found that the intervention program and the boxing program had very similar reductions in the participants' resting systolic and diastolic blood pressure, heart rate, augmentation index, and pulse pressure compared to the control group, which just had the brisk walking. And the boxing group had improved relative and absolute VO2 max results over the control group and slightly more than the high-intensity training group. Using Cohen's index, the boxing group also had improved physical functioning, general health, and vitality over time compared to the other 2 groups. And the researchers found significant improvement in cognitive scores in the boxing group, which was not seen in either the control or the high-intensity interval training intervention group. So the researchers concluded that there are similar benefits both between the high-intensity training and the boxing training. However, the boxing training can elicit greater VO2 max results and also a cognitive benefit, which was not seen in the training program. So in relation to our physical activity and aging class, we went over the many components for aging effectively and what you would need to improve. And here, as you can see, the training diagram of what should be trained. As you can see, there's physical training and motor training, and they can also be trained together using either specific skills or dual tasking. And it just shows the different demands that are needed. And in specifically for boxing, it went over strength training, aerobic training, cognitive training, and also went over balance training as well. As you can see, that hits many of the different areas here. And it really just shows how much of an all-for-one type of exercise program boxing can be for older adults, which then leads me into the effect on our lives. As, like I said before, it's really an all-in-one exercise. Although it's not mainstream yet due to its many benefits, many older adults should consider going into boxing. as it not only has all these positive effects, but it can also be fun. And specifically in relation to women, as the article went over, not only does it strengthen muscle areas that can be underdeveloped, it can also provide greater psychological benefits and stress reduction when compared to the men. Also, with it being possibly an all-in-one exercise, it can lead to more leisure time. Relating back to the first study, the boxing program was only conducted for 50 minutes. However, it had very similar results to the strength training, which was a 50-minute intervention, and the aerobic training, which was a 50-minute intervention. So the boxing training had both of those benefits, which would only be seen if the other participants did 100 minutes of both of those programs. So having boxing hitting all these different areas can lead to possibly having more leisure time to do other things rather than working out. And in addition to that, this can be very enjoyable. As you can see, the quality of life scores decreased in one of the other studies, and in interviews afterwards, many times it can be seen more as a chore in these different exercise programs. However, boxing can be seen more as a fun thing to do, and with it comes all these different benefits. So I believe that it can be a very effective exercise for older adults, and it's never too late to start boxing. And here are my citations. Thank you very much.